Oakland Vallejo, the Bay Area, stand up. I'm from that town. She from Vallejo. Said let's collab. She said okay. We all should play. Hot potato. Whoever got the hottest bar wants the name. Challenge accepted. It's me. I'm the best. Like creative players on hunters, no less. The lines in your forehead just told me you stressing. Got G-O-D on me side. Ooh, he blessed me. All these lies they tell it's a vaccine. They're acting it's so bad like it's wrestling. Keep my circle so small it's insane. If you made the cut then you're part of my team. Just like blowing that pint called strikes don't cut her. Attracted to the mind but I like mine's hooder. She gotta have a pretty face too.
Hello. Happiest of Monday. The beginning of the week is here. I am Mrs. Best. Welcome to the Mrs. Best Street Views channel. We're here to go over Buying Beverly Hills. I need to fix the little title and thing, but this is for Buying Beverly Hills season 2, episode 1. This is a Netflix show. This is my first Netflix show that I am recapping. So I know they give us the whole season pretty much all at the same time. So as I watch each episode, I'm just going to recap things after I watch them and all of those good things. But I am happy to be here. We're going to jump right into it. And by the way, big shout out to Jen Bunny. I believe that is one of my subscribers who suggested to us that we recap this show. So we are always open to suggestions here on my channel, as well as on my co-host channel, Watch Your Mouth Reviews. If you guys suggest something that you'd like us to recap, we will happily recap it. And to those who are part of the live replay gang, was good. The live, thank you for watching. So we're going to jump into this episode. This is season 2. So for those who are familiar with the Housewives of Beverly Hills on Bravo TV, that is something that I did recap on this channel. Check out our playlist for Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. You can see all of our recaps. But this show is basically based on Kyle's husband. Kyle has been a staple on Beverly Hills Housewives since the very beginning. This is going to be a show about her husband and his career in real estate, which I personally think is smart to do. There's a lot of real estate shows that have gotten popular. I also think it was really, really smart of Mauricio to not go onto regular television and to choose going through Netflix, just because Bravo can give you issues contractually, want a cut of your profits, things like that, allegedly, because I don't need nobody coming after me. But I think it's interesting he decided to go on a show of his own. And I do like that it's surrounding his career because he does work. He's always working. And I think we should just respect that. So he is someone who's been in real estate for a very, very long time. He's also been married to Kyle for over 26 years, I believe, something like that. In real time, this couple is separated and they are planning to file for divorce. Allegedly, there's no chance for reconciliation. Sources are telling to, the tabloid reporters and all of that. So I guess they're going to be breaking up. So Bravo fans don't really care too much because Kyle bullshits and it's annoying. But then it is interesting and unfortunate that these people have been together over a decade, a quarter of a century, and now they're breaking up. That's sad. So it does. Basically, we didn't know much about the breakup because Kyle bullshitted, for those who watch Beverly Hills, but it looks like we're going to learn a lot more about the breakup, the family history, and all sorts of things. So the show is based, for those who did not watch season 1, the show is based around the Mauricio's company, which is known as the Agency internationally. They're a real estate firm, and they sell luxury houses. So this is a show where we're going to see $28 million properties, often $160 million properties. Like, personally, me and my little middle class income did not know that a house could cost that much to own, especially in California, because I'm like, there's no space. There's no space. And if there is, then your house might fall off a cliff or into the ocean or some shit like that. But he sells luxury homes, which other companies do. Another one, his competition and brother-in-law, or soon to be ex-brother-in-law, Rick Hilton with Hilton and Highland. They had a real estate company. Yes, that is Paris Hilton's father. So it's interesting because there's some luxury, there's a celebrity, piece of it, but we're going to learn about the agency. We've just heard about it and seen the little parties on Bravo on Housewives of Beverly Hills. But unless you're, got agency money or work for them or in real estate, most regular people don't know about that. So the show starts this season with them discussing the separation, and they advertised it as that, but really it doesn't fully go into that. And his daughters are a part of the show. I apologize for forgetting to mention that. His daughters are a part of the show. Alexia is she's an agent. Sophia has graduated college, I believe, and is going to look into becoming an agent. And Farah, the oldest, is also someone working in the company, and somebody who's been, it looks like Farah's good at sales and interacting with those people, like that type of demographic and client, but she doesn't seem to like fully, in my opinion, from watching season 1, like she's got a lot going on personally, which we will get to as we go throughout this recap. Anywho, so the show starts with them discussing Mauricio talking to the girls about the fact that he is separating from Kyle. I found that interesting because Kyle didn't really share talk about much on Beverly Hills, but she liked to be in everybody else's business. So I don't know. But he discusses it a little bit. He makes it very clear when talking to his daughters, he did not want this divorce. His mom asked for the separation. So this is something that Kyle wanted. He's not really telling us why, but he is saying that he wants to try and make things work, and that is somewhat unfortunate what's going on. Hi, Mr. Oso Tender. He just explained to me what Mr. Oso Tender means and what it will mean for his music. Check out Oso Best. That's who that is. But when he explained it to me, it actually made sense. The man has game. That's probably why he has a wife. Just saying. Anyhow, thank you for being here and watching. Like the video if you have not already. Anyhow, it's just very interesting to me to see them have this discussion. In the beginning, I was feeling like, oh, is some of this like a publicity stuff? But as we've seen more, I think that there really are issues in that marriage. I've been watching Beverly Hills since season 1. I've always felt like Kyle and Mauricio had issues. Never trust someone who portrays their relationship or their life to be perfect, especially in the time and age of social media. I could post 1,000 pictures with my husband smiling, and we could be in like the biggest fight of our life or something. Like, you can't really properly judge a relationship based on what you see on TV, especially reality TV, because they want to some extent to look good, or like that they're a couple that has normal size problems that they work through. But no one wants to like have their actual product, issues that would lead to divorce broadcasted. People don't handle that well. Cough, cough, Robin Dixon. So sick of her. Anyhow, be sure to check out our Potomac recaps, y'all, if you like or don't like Robin Dixon. We discuss her a lot on the Real Housewives of Potomac recaps that I do with Watch Your Mouth Reviews. You can find a playlist here on the channel where you can watch all of the recaps that I do with other channels. Just look for the show, and if you click it, I'm in the recap. Anyhow, so they discuss the separation. They don't really discuss it long like they advertise, and it's nothing that we're too surprised about. But then they go to like 6 months earlier. So they must have picked up the cameras to have him discuss that, because Bravo picked up the cameras to, film Kyle and Mauricio's breakup even after the season had wrapped. So I feel like Netflix probably was like, fuck it, we may as well, which was smart, because now we've got this discussion, which I feel like the editors will give us more of toward the end of the season. I'm not skipping ahead. As soon as I'm done with this recap, I'll be watching episode 2 of season 2, and then I'll be doing another recap. So, I'm just interested to see where it goes, but I have a feeling Netflix will come back to that conversation once it's closer to real time. That just makes sense in my opinion. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Even if you're in the replay gang watching the live replay, let me know. But they fast forward to 6 months earlier, and that's where we really get into the show. And we see Kyle. We didn't get much of Kyle last season, but we're getting more of her this season. And again, it appears like everything is fine. They seem to get along. Everything seems to be okay. They're looking at a $65 million house. When they said the staircase by itself cost $1.4 million, how? How does something cost so much money that people step on? They walk on it, and it could hurt you too. That shit look dangerous. I'm just saying. But basically, they look at the $65 million house. Kyle is there. The daughters are there. And he seems very happy with Kyle. Don't get me wrong. I think Mauricio is that man who probably did cheat on Kyle because they got together when they were really young. She said they spent their whole adulthood together. And like when you've been with someone for so long, I'm sure something has happened. I know it's not that way for everybody, but he was young and fine and coming into richness. And then if you look at Kyle and how she looked back then, she pretty much looked 40 when she was 20. So I'm pretty sure that he might have explored his options with selling houses in Ecuador or some shit. I'm pretty sure that he has done that. But he appears like in real time to be, it seems like he still cares for Kyle. And he seems happy with her in this scene when they're looking at the house. The house is beautiful. So there's not much we get there. I just like how the family dynamic, everyone does seem to get along within Kyle's family. Kyle and her family may not get along with other people in their family sometimes, but what I like about the Kim, Kyle, and Kathy as sisters is the way they raise their kids and their families. Everyone's close, which I think is beautiful. So that's a positive. Moving on, we don't get to see much. We just get to see this beautiful home. And these are homes, just as a side note, because if I'm going to be having to recap a real estate show because y'all requested it, I'm going to have to give my opinions. The houses are beautiful, but even if I had the money, I just can't see myself having to like walk hella square feet to the kitchen or like, like it just seems like somewhere that like maybe vacation wise I'd live in something like that, but day to day I'm super down to earth though, y'all. I am down to earth. It don't seem like it on this live, but if you meet me in person, I'm quiet, I'm down to earth, and I really am a homebody, so but I don't need much. So I don't know. My friends call me cheap. My husband says I'm simple, so I guess it depends on your perspective. But the house was beautiful. So we move on and we see a Black realtor, and he is learning and training under one of the people who work or in contracts with the agency, because there's the agency. And then within the agency, there are these little groups that people could build their own groups, like the Amansky group or BZP, which we'll discuss later on. And they could build their own little teams and make money on their own. So it's like they get the benefit of working with the agency, but they still get the benefit of, being an independent contractor to some extent, which is cool. But we saw a Black realtor learning, and he spoke about that, which I thought was cool. He's a Black realtor from Arizona selling houses. In his word, he said the amount of money that people spend on one house in California, he said you could buy the block in Arizona. So side note, watch your mouth reviews, aka my very good friend James. He lives in Arizona, and I'm going to ask him, is that true? Like, because I know they say that the housing cost has gone up a lot in Arizona because people keep moving there. But I'm just curious as to how much a house in Arizona is. Anybody who knows about housing in Arizona, please comment that, because I am not a real estate person. I have no experience in real estate. I don't sell houses. I don't own a house. But I'm reporting on this show because it's entertaining and you guys requested it. But if you know about that, please let us know. So it's good to see that the agency, I think that's the beauty in having companies that are minority ran. Mauricio is Mexican. So I do think it's wonderful when you can have people of color open and available to have those type of opportunities, which doesn't always happen. Companies that are willing to truly dig into the diversity hire, not just as a checklist they're marking off to not get in trouble for the government, but just hiring people based on how good they are versus what they look like. I think that's dope. So shout out to the agency for that. And shout out to the young man that is mentoring that African-American man from Phoenix, who's going to be selling houses probably that he could buy the whole block with just one. So may he have much success. So we move on, you guys, and do me a favor and like the video if you haven't already. We move on to Alexia. That is Kyle's middle daughter. She's got 4 daughters. There's Alexia, Sophia. What is the other one? I know Adriana, I think, is the baby. And then there's Farah as well. So she's got quite a few daughters, and we see Alexia. She's the one that we saw in season 1 a lot. I believe she's the oldest that Kyle has with Mauricio too. But she has a boyfriend this season named Jake. Last season she had some slight romantical interest, but it was kind of just like no shade. Sometimes these little rich girls are a little boring, even with how they handle their relationship drama. But she had something with somebody last season. Now she has a boyfriend named Jake who She's known since the 3rd grade, which I think is really cute. I guess he's around the family. They're that kind of family. Like when she dates someone, the person is dating them and the family. That doesn't always work. But when your girlfriend's family is worth hundreds of millions of dollars, you make it work. You make it work. Anywho, they've known each other since the 3rd grade, so that's a good thing. But my goodness, y'all, every time Alexia spoke, I swore I was hearing Kyle. It's like watching Kyle on TV in a bunch of forms. They all have brunette hair like Kyle. They all have it like they all look the same. It's so cute. You can tell they're all related, but I'm just like, oh my gosh, y'all, like you sound just like your mom. But people say that with my mom. If you hear my mom speak and me speak, we sound exactly the same. If you put a picture of my mom, her grandmother, her mom, and me next to each other at like 27, we all look like the same person. It's very creepy. It's very, very creepy. It's a thing. Anywho, so we see Kyle and Mauricio at home, and it seems like, they're concerned because Sophia, who was supposed to be joining the agency, the other daughter, was late on her first day. So she may take up the daddy privilege. And he mentions to Kyle that he's been stressed out a lot because he's traveling constantly, which is true. We've usually seen Mauricio for at the very least half of the season on Beverly Hills. And in recent seasons, we have not seen him. He's literally always traveling. But his company has grown a lot. So that's probably the reason why. And it's a global thing. So he expresses to Kyle, who at the time is his wife. And at this time, we don't know that any divorce or separation is coming. And he's like, I'm stressed out. I'm constantly traveling. It's impacting me seeing you, the family. And he's like, I've been having breakdowns, like actual breakdowns at work. And this is when we first hear about the breakdowns. She was somewhat supportive, but she's like, well, is that new when it comes to the breakdowns? And I'm just like, Kyle seemed to like make Mauricio her everything. But in the words of my friend James, who I co-hosted the Beverly Hills Housewives recaps with, I feel like she is pretentious and in her own world. She's in her own bubble, as Garcelle would say. Your husband just told you that he's having actual breakdowns at his place of employment because he feels stressed out, because he feels like he has to give you more time. I feel like you could have done and said a little bit more to be supportive. Like, just my opinion. But we know that 6 months later, this couple ends up breaking up. So it's obviously stuff that we're still not seeing. But there's what I see is that he is trying and she seems checked out and over it. And that's fine because they're separated in real time. But, don't have the man stressed out trying to, be what you want when even if he changes to that, it's not going to satisfy you. That's not good, Kyle. But I know also her feelings are probably a thing. And that's probably why she, went to separate. Now, Mauricio says that for the last year and a half, he has been extremely stressed out. And what I noticed for those who do watch Bravo Beverly Hills, that matches the timeline of what Kyle said on the reunion and throughout the season. So this is the one truth that probably exists because they are both saying that they've had issues and things have been rough in the marriage for a year and a half. So now I'm seeing it probably is what she was saying on Beverly Hills, like, oh, it's time and this. I do think that time and their busyness has caused problems, but they've always been busy. I want to know what else caused this breakup because it can't just be time away because you're all busy. Your daughters too. What, you going to divorce your daughters? So it's got to be more than just scheduling that's leading to a divorce and destroying a relationship of 26 years. It's not just that you don't have time together no more. That's bullshit. Because to build a company to this magnitude, he had to be unavailable. And she was filming a show and she had businesses. So I'm hoping that if y'all going to talk about this divorce and your little marital issues, that y'all actually just say what it is. You don't even have to go in detail. But when you guys keep trying to say bullshit like, oh, it's time. We don't have time together. We just grew apart. Like, why? What? How? It's like elementary school. Who, what, when, where, why, and how. Give us something. Something. I'm thirsty, y'all. One moment. I went on a walk with my spousal unit. And when I tell you it's hot, which makes no sense because it was just raining and cold, but it was hot outside. So thirsty. I was thirsty as hell. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't usually drink beverages outside of my tea on these lives. I'm obsessed with tea. But yes, anyhow, let's jump back into it. Do me a favor, like the video if you haven't already. If you don't, I appreciate you for being here. Hello, live replay gang. Shout out to y'all as well. So they move on from discussing their marital issues quickly to discuss their children. And it looks like they're discussing Farrah, which is the oldest daughter. And Farrah had a breakup. I did see it made the news or the little tabloid reporters. I'm not quite sure why or how. I don't really care for her or know much about her to like understand why her breakup would end up in the news. I guess if you're family famous, you stuck in it too. But she was supposed to be engaged. There's no date. And then Kyle is saying the relationship is pretty much stagnant. I think it's strange that Mauricio and Kyle, the only thing they have to discuss are the kids. I want to see them talk about things outside of kids or their businesses. And maybe that's why they're breaking up, because it look like they don't have nothing to talk about. I can't stop talking to my husband. I know he wants me to shut the hell up. I have too much to say. So it seems like they might be, I don't think they're going to reconcile either, is what I'm saying. So they go to bed. He asked her for a kiss, and she looked so annoyed to kiss that man. I am telling you, when you have that look towards a man, that man had to have cheated because they still rich. He ain't touched the money, so he had to have cheated because she seems just like disgusted with his general existence. And it may not be that, but it's just sad. They've been together so long. So even though I don't like Kyle, I don't want her to get divorced. I don't want that. I just don't. Anywho, moving it along, at the BZP office, this is, I believe, Ben, from what my note says, y'all. I'm still learning these people on the show. But at the BZP office, this is one of the groups that works within the Amansky Group, selling real estate. We learned from Ben how his company has profited $50 million after learning from Mauricio for a small amount of time. I think that those are the mentors you want. Like mentors that can actually teach you to understand how to be good at something, where that standard and set of teachings is going to apply. Even when you're away, you can follow those steps and be successful. That's good. To profit $50 million from someone teaching you something. Oh, I'm sure Mauricio has lots of friends in the industry. Lots of friends just because of that. Anywho, they mentioned a property known as the Rustic Ranch property in California. It's beautiful. It's not really in Beverly Hills. It's like in between the Valley and Beverly Hills, but it is beautiful. Huge property, over 350 acres. Joey has this property and he wants to bring in Alexia because of her name. Alexia was a junior agent. I'm not sure if she still is, but Alexia is just her daddy's child. She seems to be passionate in the way that she is. I do think that she would be really good at sales, but she skipped hella steps because her father owns the company. And you could kind of see the dynamic bothers some of the agents within the agency. But with Joey, I think it's a little deeper because they did have like a little slight thing for each other, but not really a thing, but it could have been a thing, but it's not a thing, if that makes sense. By the way, workplace romances are messy. He wants her on the property because her last name will help him to sell the property. So I found that to be interesting. Now she is pulling back from him, and she makes it very clear that she is, because she's now dating Jake. But if you still have all this like energy toward Joey, I don't think you really love Jake. I feel like you're just like, well, Joey ain't gonna get his shit together for me, so I'm gonna go to Jake. I don't know why I feel that way, but I just do. Because if you're really interested in your dude, you're not even gonna entertain flirting. It should be like, yeah, okay, so what are we gonna do about this property? You're gonna list it. Like, that's all they should talk about. Like, it shouldn't be anything else. In my opinion, I've had men at work try to flirt with me, especially when I was in sales. I was in sales for about 5 years. Made a lot of money. Sales is wonderful. But I used to have coworkers try to flirt. There was never weird energy. I'd just be like, oh, okay, well, instead of bothering me, are you gonna make your calls? Or are you gonna grab this person who walked up a lot? Like, if you're not interested in somebody, you're not gonna entertain it, not even a little bit. That's just me though. But Alexia seems to be entertaining him just a smidge. Basically, Joey wants to make it seem like the Rustic Ranch property listing is going to be coming from him, because he's supposed to be co-listing this with Alexia and the agency in addition to with himself. So she wants to know if they're going to co-list it, and he's kind of acting funny. And then eventually he sees she's getting annoyed. And he's like, yes, we're co-listing it. I get it. But we find out that the person selling the property, who was choosing the agent to sell their property, went to high school with Joey and went to elementary school with Alexia. So that's interesting because, you know, in these private schools, Alexia and them didn't just go to your regular public school in Calabasas or Los Angeles. They went to the same schools probably as Kim and Jay-Z's kids and whoever the hell else. So you're going to meet a lot of kids who come out of school probably with money already and then use each other as they get into the fields of their parents or do their own thing to, you know, do what they do, which I think is nice to have a good little network of people. California really is a who you know state at times. A lot of the good jobs I've had have come from like word of mouth or who I know. And then you prove yourself from there and you never struggle again. But a lot of times you got to know somebody to jump into it. Who said this? Natalie from 90 Day The Single Life, which I will be recapping tomorrow. We'll be recapping the Tell All Part 3. So if you are a TLC fan, stay tuned into thy channel, beautiful people. Anywho, so this basically just shows us everybody knows everybody in Hollywood. Now, Ben and his friend Zach, who used to work for Hilton and Highland, which is Kathy Hilton and Rick Hilton's real estate company, where Mauricio got his start at to work. Now, Zach used to work for Hilton and Highland and recommended him to come, you know, to go play basketball and all of those things. He also recommended him to the agency or something like that, just a lot. So Zach left Hilton and Highland and is now at the agency. And he told us, and when I say Thug Life, Naya was good. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I love that she includes the little emoji too. I am recapping Buying Beverly Hills because a couple of the people on Beverly Hills recap we did asked me to recap it, and James said, hell no. James said, I do not want to deal with that. James is so funny, you guys. He's so serious. He's like, I need at least one Black cast member or to be entertained when I'm eating my noodles or something in order for me to recap it. I love James. Shout out to James. Love him, love him, love him. Anywho, basically, Zach left Hilton and Highland. Speak of the devil, James just texted me. He left Hilton and Highland basically because he says it was competitive. I thought that was interesting. So I'm going to look at my notes, y'all, so I don't mess up. Now, Zach says that Hilton and Highland treats the agency like it's their literal enemy and that he was getting crap on the streets for going to work at the agency after working for Hilton and Highland. This is something that I think is necessary because if you watch Beverly Hills, my Beverly Hills fans know the women act almost afraid of Kathy Hilton. I think people who live in bigger areas, whether it's DC, Cali, wherever, you know for a fact that people, the more money someone has, the more power they have. Even if it's not forever, the more power they have. These women acted afraid of Kathy Hilton for whatever reason. Now you have a guy who worked at the agency at the time Mauricio was there too, who stayed after Mo left. He gave them at least 30 years then. Now he's at the agency and he's getting shit in the streets. How are you just as a realtor getting shit in the streets for when most of the population in California can't afford the shit that you're selling or to know what's going on with it? So how and who are you getting shit from? I want to know. So he says that that's what he's been having issues with. And Zach worked with Mo at Hilton and says that when Mauricio left the company, that it was a big thing, a really big thing. He said that all of the realtors had to choose sides who worked with Mauricio and Rick Hilton. And I guess that was a thing. And if you chose a side and you was around back then, you got to keep choosing that side or somebody gonna view you as something. Now, Mo seems to have went off, started his own company and was like, whatever, as long as they don't try to come up off of me. But I feel like also in Mauricio's head, because he didn't talk shit and leave the company and just was quiet, you know, he's probably like, oh, I'm going to do that, you know, because you family. But it just didn't. That's wild to me that they can have such problems just from people leaving a company. Like workers, especially in California with our workplace laws, like how did they get away with that shit is what I'm wondering. All sorts of things wrong with that. Anywho, Mauricio, we also learned from Zach, he says that Mauricio was a top dog at Hilton and Highland. That means he was selling $128 million homes plus. He was good at his job. That's why he's been able to build this company. And he said that the reason Mauricio says that he left Hilton and Highland was because he felt undervalued. And he also says to support why he left, that since being at the agency, he's been able to do more with his business versus just selling high price homes and taking home a commission. He can build his own group within it. He could make his own cards, have his own company. He can still thrive and make this money. So it seems like the agency is a place that people are happy to work. I've not heard many complaints, but we have heard complaints or people leave huge companies like Hilton and Highland to go work for smaller companies like Keller Williams or, Prudential. And that's weird. And you have to wonder why. There's obviously a different climate. Every workplace is different. I think that even if it's within the same company, sometimes every work location is different. But if your employees are feeling undervalued and like they're incapable of growing, to every company owner out there, regardless if it's real estate or not, they're not going to want to be there. Industrial psychology says that. Look it up. That's all I'm going to say. Now, moving it along, I do think, I have a feeling that Mauricio and Zach, because they did work together at the agency, I feel like before he came on this show, because there's been a lot of talks of Rick Hilton feeling betrayed by Mauricio and all these other things, I don't know why I feel like Mauricio kind of was like, yeah, you could say that on the show. He probably didn't tell him, but Mo, like, he's in sales, so he knows those talking points. It was like, you say whatever you need to say, and knowing that he was going to say what he had to say, because he didn't just leave Hilton and Highland happily. And the people are talking about you in the streets, and you felt undervalued, and so did Mauricio. It's more to that story, Zach, but I do appreciate him being forthright and explaining to us what's going on. And I don't think that any of us as recappers or people who are interested in purchasing homes in the real estate market, if you can't afford to use either of these agencies, I don't think that we should judge either of their abilities to do their jobs based on some beef between a bunch of pretentious rich people, because most of the real estate people working under them are just trying to survive. So that's how I feel. I just wanted to say that. Moving it along, we go to Farrah's house. She has the cutest little house. And we see Sophia, the younger sister, who's coming into the company. She sleeps over with Farrah because Farrah is going through, it's not a breakup, but it's the engagement's not happening. She doesn't want to pick a date. And so her sister's like, I just want to be over here so she's not lonely. Farrah, this is why you and that man broke up today, because if you're lonely and you want your little sister to come over versus your man, the eggplant emoji, girl, if I'm lonely, I'm going to call Mr. Best 10 times over before I call one of my friends. And they watch these recaps. I don't give a flying you know what. I'm going to call my husband before I call them heifers. I am. I'll call James too before them also, because, yeah. Anywho, she's at her house. She's been lonely, so her sister's helping her with that. Alexia comes in and she says, she seems a little bit jealous, which always happens when there's multiple siblings. I'm the oldest of four, so I totally get it. She's like, they always have been close. Alexia or Sophia and Farrah have always been really, really close, which makes sense. They seem to have different personalities, though, all these girls, even though they're similar. So that makes sense. But the daughters discussed Mauricio having a breakdown, which I thought to be interesting. So this breakdown, earlier in this recap, if you rewind, I was talking about how he tried to tell Kyle about his breakdown, and she tried to like, oh, when are you not having that? But his daughters are concerned, to where the spoiled daughter, Sophia, because that's what I'm going to call her, she said, I was nice to dad like all week because of that. That's how you know she grew up rich. Ain't no way in hell you just go be acting an asshole to your dad to be acting an asshole until you see he really sad. That don't make sense. Just be nice to your dad, especially if he's doing for you and giving you a job. Anywho, so the daughters say that their dad is not happy in life, and that he was saying these things when he had a breakdown, and he really misses time with his family. I don't know. I think that Mauricio does want to spend time with his children and his family, but then you also work with your kids. You can talk on the phone to your kids and all of this. I think something happened with him and Kyle that just broke him as a man. Men handle shit differently too. They're so bad with emotions a lot of time. And I feel like Mauricio's not handling his emotions well. And I don't think Kyle is the best person or support system for him through that. But it's sad. I am glad to see that his daughters like care enough about him to like discuss it and to even change their spoiled ass behavior so that their dad's not miserable. You don't want to add to anyone's pain. The worst thing you could do is kick someone when they're down. So later on, we get to see this rustic ranch property. It's fucking huge. $28 million. It's basically a 360-acre farm. Comes with a wine area to grow the grapes and stuff. Listen, on top of that, you get a profit from the wines developed on your property. It's wild. But it was funny to me because I'm like, so somebody gonna pay $28 million for a property. The property's big as hell. You're gonna have to pay hella money to keep up with the land, hire farmers, hire people, all of that. And the house itself, like the resident, it was just a log cabin. I said, who the hell? It was nice, but I'm just like, if I'm going to spend $28 million for anything, I need the house to be bigger, even if it's a log cabin that's fancy, like the ones they do in Aspen, Colorado, things like that. Like this was like a log cabin that I could go rent in Tahoe for the weekend. And that, I don't know, $28 million is wild. I get it for the property, the fact that it's a property that's going to bring you in income as well. It's in California too, so that's prime real estate, worth so much money. And it's located in a good area between Valley, between the big city. California is not like the other states, okay? You can't just say, oh, today let's go to the Bay Area. It's going to take you about 7 hours from Southern California to get here. So I like the property. I just was like, that's a lot. And that's why they kept saying when showing it, you really have to make sure that you have a buyer that understands what they're getting with this and is willing and can afford the upkeep, because the last thing the state needs is a property like that going into foreclosure. That's a mess waiting to happen. So the house is beautiful though. So then we see Ben asking Farrah about a date in her wedding, for her wedding. So it seemed like Ben liked Farrah. I saw in the credits showing us what's going to happen in the later in the season. He's like, I'd marry you tomorrow. So I'm like, I don't get people who like date within their workplace. Like if you're too busy to date, fine, but that's getting a little weird. Can the girl officially break up with the man before you start coming for her insides of lady parts? Please, just a suggestion. Anywho, so I think that something's going to be there. I also feel like that's a strange thing to ask. I don't care if you're a friend or a coworker. Don't fucking ask me about a date for my wedding unless we're the best of fucking friends. Don't ask me about that. So I'm already married, but still, don't ask me. Do me a favor, you guys. We're getting close to the end of the video. Like the video if you have not already. If you are part of the live replay gang watching when we are not live, I still love y'all. I still acknowledge you. Thug Life, please like the video. Comment your opinions. I will also engage and jump in the conversation, even when we're not live, because I want to know how y'all feel about this show. So moving it along, the last scene of the show, we see Alexia is pissed off that Joey has BZP merch at the event. Now, if he says you're co-listing, he's going to bring his stuff for the event. This is something I know just from going into open houses in Cali, because that's something I like to do. But you go into an open house, you see usually some type of freebie, a bottle of water, business cards, baseball cap. They do stuff like that, real estate people. She could have brought hers as well so that they know that they can reach two people. But if you're just helping him and it's a co-listing, then why don't you just sit silent and get your millions? They said that the commission on this property was over $1 million. So if I'm just a co-lister, let him do the fucking work. Call me whenever you need me as needed and let me collect my check. Alexia just wants to get her name out there. And that's why I say I think that she is good for sales, or will be great at sales, because you could tell that she's not just like, oh, my daddy has a company, I'm entitled to this. She actually wants to learn the business and be as good as her dad. She wants to be the best. And that's what it takes to be the best. So Alexia Umansky, I respect your drive, and you grew up rich and you have the will to work. A lot of people don't have it. So I respect it. Anywho, y'all, moving it along, she's pissed off about the BZP merch, but he does have the right to do it. And even other people she talked to explain that. Like I just said, it looks like she's just helping and it's not a actual like listing for her. He just wanted her name. He made that very clear. Now, Sophia brings up, because she's at this event for whatever reason, Sophia, the other sister, the youngest Umansi sister working for the agency, gets pissed off that Joey has busy, or she gets pissed off that Joey was meeting with clients in other areas of the property. Now, we saw him get into a little golf cart and go show some clients like the chicken coop and the winery, and all the different areas of the property. He's trying to sell the property to someone. Now, Sophia brings up that he did that and he lied about it at first. But here's the thing, he's co-listing. So if you are co-listing with somebody, why are you hiding this from them? If this was your main listing and then you wanted to use her name, fine. It doesn't make sense. It just doesn't. Alexia keeps saying, the guy went to elementary school with me too. He's only listing with us because I'm here too. Which I believe. I believe this rich guy is like, oh, I remember you guys. We all grew up rich. Let's sell you guys can sell my property. I truly believe that's what it is. I do think that Alexia is probably more of the reason that the person wants to list than Joey. And the reason why is because the agency is known way more than BZP. The agency is also clear in their direction. The episode pretty much ends. I think it's going to be a good season. I did watch season 1 and highlights of it as well. Season 1 was boring as hell to me, y'all. I'm sorry. I was bored as hell. This season, we got the breakup with Kyle and Mauricio. We got how the daughter's going to handle it. We got a new daughter out of college coming into it. We got Alexia with her drama with the boys as well as the competition. And then we got we got Zach and Ben running around talking about how effed up Hilton and Highland was. So thus far, if I had to rate Buying Beverly Hills season 2, episode 1 on a scale of 1 to 10, I would give them a 6.5, 7. It's still lacking. If you're going to do a show like this, where it's like, ooh, prime real estate, look at this, look at that. If you're going to do a show like that, I feel like you have to do something or grab somebody who is relatable. And while I love Kyle's daughters, I do like her daughters a lot. Can't stand Kyle, but I think she did a great job with her daughters. I like Kyle's daughters. Mauricio seems okay too. They're all just mellow and not interesting enough for me. They're also not relatable at all. I want at least like one person on here that's relatable. Kind of like Vanderpump Rules when they brought in Lala Kent. She was someone, just a random girl who moved to California, trying to live her dream. Like, she did, like, bring someone in who's slightly relatable. But other than that, I like it. 6.5, 7 out of 10. I can't give it just a definitive number, but I will continue to recap it, you guys. I will put notifications on the community board on YouTube for when they recap will happen. I also schedule my recaps ahead of time to make it easy for my viewing audience to know when the next live on a show that you would like will be coming on. We will also be having tomorrow on James's channel, we will be doing a Mama June recap where we discuss the issues happening on WeTV's Mama June Family Crisis. We're also going to do the Real Housewives of Potomac Part 1 of the reunion recap. And in addition to that, my goodness, we will be having the Summer House Martha's Vineyard recap, and as well as a tell-all recap. So I will have a shit ton of recaps tomorrow. I just realized that when I said all of that out loud. But I hope that you guys tune in, subscribe to the channel. If you want to offer any forms of support, tips, donations, if you have questions or suggestions, all the info is going across your screen. Mrs. B3ST Reviews at gmail.com. There is a Venmo, Cash App, Chime, and PayPal that you guys can send things to, should you choose it. I appreciate you all. We're going to end our live listening to Mr. Oh So Best. We're going to listen to an EP he did with an artist out of Florida named XO Avaca. This is the Sincerely XO and Oso EP project, which is available on all platforms for you guys to listen to. We're going to listen to the song Man from the project. Have the best day.
I'm on a whole different level, never sold my soul to the devil. Might go out my way and catch a case of new Beretta. I could get any bitch I want, I make that pussy wetter. I could get any bitch I want, the pussy wet like it's weather. Rain, going through all this pain. All these bitches hitting me up, they only care about the fame. I don't care though, baby, all these girls I really sing. I'm just tired of being locked down in all these motherfucking chains.
Look, animated girl said me too. Got moving, but not a part of me too. I was swearing on a while, but I need to. Infinity beyond your deep pool. I'm trying to get out that bay, no more delay, but out to stay. Thinking what country should I go to now? She said between her legs and thighs. I'll slide. Better not talk that jive. It's lit. We live. Battle station. I'm a nerd, so I need you to cosplay. Be my nominee, I'll be a Luffy. Duncan Gatlin, gang on lane. My devil fruit gon' leave you crazy.
Look at my whip, it's a VA. Look at your car and shit, eh? Line it up, going shit on. 0 to 100 off Henny. Taking a molly, might catch in the body. Hop in a whip and I hop in a Rari. I fucking that bitch and I bounce to the next. I tell that bitch I'm sorry. I ain't a man. I ain't a man, I'm the man, I'm the man, Ask on the man, where the plan, Fucking a friend, make no amends, Look at me, yeah, look at you, I'm doing good, yeah, how about you, Look at me, yeah, look at you, counting stats, yeah, my finger blue, I'm the man, yeah, who are you, yeah, you a fan, yeah. Watch my moves, yeah. Look at me, look at you. I'm worth 100 you. I'm on a whole different level. Never sold my soul to the devil. Might go out my way and catch a case of the new Beretta. I could get any bitch I want. I make that pussy wetter. I could get any bitch I want. The pussy wet like it's weather. Rain, going through all this pain. All these bitches hitting me up, they only care about the fame. I don't care though, baby, all these girls are really the same. I'm just tired of being locked down in all these motherfucking chains.